groovy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Franchise Deep Dive with Jake and Josh, the podcast where we dive deep into all of your favorite and least favorite movie franchises, giving our thoughts and opinions on the individual films we discuss, as well as breaking into behind-the-scenes facts and trivia. I'm Jake.
And I'm Josh. And how ready are you, Jake?
Oh, baby, I'm ready. Yes, if you didn't look at the title of the episode, we are continuing our Evil Dead franchise deep dive with, and I'll lend my hand early, my favorite of the bunch, and that is Evil Dead 2, sometimes known as Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. Dead by Dawn! Dead by Dawn!
Could have sworn my copy of the movie even said Dead by Dawn, but I looked at it and it doesn't.
Dude, I'm having like full-on Mandela effect with this. I could have sworn that it was always known as Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, and then you go on the IMDb. Nope, just Evil Dead 2. You look on Wikipedia, Evil Dead 2. So, I don't know.
It's like the Friday the 13th Part 5, the cover of it, right? We thought it was The Mask, and then all we were seeing was just, I don't even remember what we saw, what it was. Was it just the title?
I don't know, man.
Yeah, whatever.
Wait, does Part 5 not have The Mask?
I can't even remember. You know what? I think we should just let's focus on the good stuff. Let's not retread.
No, it has The Mask. You're on something.
I'll have to go back into the
Mask.
episode because there was something Mandela about Friday the 13th, or maybe it's the title. It was the title. It was A New Beginning, right?
Maybe.
I think it's yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
Those episodes are out of my memory. But yes, let's not mince too many words. One last time, we mentioned it at the beginning of last episode, but we are switching up the format now, guys. So instead of getting all of the movies bunched up into one episode, we are going to be splitting it up more episodically. Our release format is going to still kind of stay the same time-wise, but we're also going to make an effort to make these episodes a little bit shorter, a little bit more digestible for you guys. So without further ado, let's get into the topic of today's episode, Evil Dead 2, released in 1987, directed again by one Sam Raimi, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Significantly higher budget, this time around 3.5 mil, and a box office of only 5.9 mil, the lowest grossing of the original trilogy, which is breaking my goddamn heart. But a Rotten Tomatoes score of critically 88% with an audience score of 89%. And let's read this little IMDb synopsis. That way we can set the stage for the folks at home listening who haven't seen Evil Dead 2 in a little bit. Ash Williams, the lone survivor of an earlier onslaught of flesh-possessing spirits, holes up in a cabin with a group of strangers while the demons continue their attack. Now, before we get into the discussion and talking about a little bit of the behind-the-scenes trivia, we didn't really get to do this with the first film because we had to kind of set the stage for our new recording format and whatnot, but I'd love to ask you, the first time you watched Evil Dead 2, what was your experience? What was your reaction with it? Because it is, needless to say, a very, very different movie from the first, from a lot of different perspectives, but I'd love to hear your experience with it.
I don't remember my experience as much as I do the first. I think I remember definitely having fun with it. I don't know who doesn't have fun with it. But I think when I first watched it, that was like my early stage of getting into horror movies. So I think I was almost a little, I was even more snobby with like the fact that it wasn't as much of a horror movie as the first one. So I think that kind of always played into why I liked the first one in the past. I'm not going to share with people what I like now. I'm going to wait till the end of that as best I can. But always thought it was hilarious, though. I did enjoy it, but I think I always just had like maybe more of a special spot for the first one. So, and I saw the first one more. I don't remember watching this one as much earlier on. It wasn't until I got older I watched it a lot more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in a similar boat to when I got to this. This was very early horror for me, so I think I had kind of mentioned it on the Friday the 13th series, especially those first couple episodes where Friday the 13th was kind of my entry point for the horror franchise or horror franchises and just horror as a genre. And Evil Dead, especially the entire trilogy, all the way up to Army of Darkness, was so big for me when I was first getting into horror. Because, like we already mentioned, you get into the first one, and it is very unlike anything you've ever seen outside of, yeah, if you get to it later in life, you're going to be like, oh, bunch of strangers going up to a cabin in the woods. That's familiar. But just the sheer insanity of that movie and just being like wowed by it. And I remember that being one of the first times early on that I remember really noticing cinematography, because when you're watching movies as like a kid, you don't really take note of a lot of the more filmmaking aspects of things. You're just kind of engaging with the story and the characters, and you like what you like and you don't like what you don't like. But I remember early on, like 12, 13, whenever I had watched these movies for the first time, just being blown away by, like we had talked about on the first episode with Evil Dead 1, just the camera movements and the shot selection, and just really being like, holy shit, like, oh, you can shoot a movie this way. Like, why doesn't everybody shoot a movie like this? And I think I was on the opposite though with you, whereas yeah, sure, that there's that part of me that was like, okay, this is clearly not trying to be as straight up of a horror film as the first movie. It is clearly leaning way more into the comedy aspects that are a little bit present, like you had mentioned in that first episode. They're there in that first movie, whether it's the Deadites being a little goofy or just some of the more slapsticky kind of humor. And you come to, do a little research and you find out that Sam Raimi loved Three Stooges, so a lot of the physical slapstick stuff is rooted in that kind of comedy. And just, again, I remember being blown away by Evil Dead 2. Just the sheer insanity. I'll remember forever being like, again, like 12 or 13 years old and watching the scene where Bruce Campbell just fully starts losing his mind. It just, like, pure chaos.
You don't forget that laugh he does right to the camera, the like Dutch tilt laugh. It's like,
dude,
almost
and
feels
especially the
like,
deer got me. It always gets me when the deer starts moving its head and laughing along with him. It's
Where would you rank?
Iconic.
Where would you rank Bruce Campbell's laugh in the camera, like looking at the camera with like horror facial imagery? Like obviously there's like Jack Nicholson in The Shining. There's like Norman Bates.
Yeah.
This has to be like one of those images that just kind of stick with the genre.
That image on top of Bruce Campbell's performance in this entire movie, no joke, not trying to be too dramatic, one of my top 5 favorite performances in any horror movie. And sure, you could be like, oh, but Jake, there's so many great dramatic performances. Like, what about Toni Collette in Hereditary? And what about this actor in this movie? No. Bruce Campbell in Evil Dead 2 is one of the greatest comedic performances I have ever seen in a movie, just period. There are flat out 10-minute sequences in this movie where Bruce Campbell is just throwing himself against every wall that he can find. There's like a 30-second straight shot of Bruce Campbell smashing plates over his head repeatedly. Like there's like 5 plates. It's like never ending. Every time you think it's the last plate, he smashes another one over his head. He is giving not even 100% effort. He is giving 200% effort throughout this entire movie. I didn't mean to fanboy a little bit there, but Bruce Campbell in this is mwah. It's chef's kiss. Yeah.
So you heard it, Jake. I mean, you heard it, people. Jake, this is... I think I'm convinced this is his favorite movie of all time, but I could be mistaken. I don't know.
To be fair, to Josh's credit, to give him a little bit of validation for that, while rewatching it the other day for the podcast, I might have or I might not have texted him and said, this is the greatest movie ever made.
And like, I should read that and be like, oh, he's just having fun exaggerating, but I believed it. And I should know better.
It's so applicable because the scene that we're talking about where he starts losing he's like fully breaking his mind at this point and like having a full mental breakdown, and the deer starts laughing, and you get all these insert shots of different inanimate objects around the room laughing with him, and then there's like a shot where he's like bouncing up and down and the camera is moving with him and all the objects are like bouncing in synchronization with him. And it is that moment exactly in the film when I texted Josh, and I texted you twice. So the first time I texted you and was like, this movie is a masterpiece is when you get sort of a repeat shot of the first movie where you get the shot through the cabin, but this time, because they have a bigger budget, it just looks so much smoother than the first movie and just a little bit more professional, a little bit more just better looking, I guess, overall. So that was the first time. And then the second time I was like, this might be the greatest movie ever made, was that scene where Bruce Campbell is just losing his mind. It is the definition of pure chaos. I fucking love it. And we didn't even break into any of the behind the scenes facts or trivia yet, so we can definitely get into that. I just had to lend my hand hella early on this one and talk about how much I fucking love this movie. So
yeah. So I mean, this, Jake's gonna probably like talk about this a little bit more than I do, and I really don't want people to get confused. I love this movie. I'm just gonna say that I love this movie, and I've liked it for a very long time. Not enough for Jake, but
it's never enough.
And not enough for a lot of people. This is a very, very it has a big community of where this is like legit people's favorite horror movie.
Would you blame anybody for this being someone's favorite horror movie, though?
No, not at all.
No,
favorite?
Not at
no.
all. Yeah.
If you said it was the best horror movie, I might, be a little upset. Best is
you might do the you might give them the Bruce Campbell like tilted head look if they said it was the best.
Yeah, but, like I mean, horror comedy. If you want to say that, that's perfectly fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah.
No, fuck you,
No.
Because I did say that I thought it was the best horror comedy on our horror movie draft, and you gave me like a sideways look and was like, "That's the craziest thing I've ever heard."
No, I said it was the craziest when I realized you thought it was a better movie. Also, horror comedy, I kind of realized, okay, that's fine, because maybe at first I was shell shocked, but then I was like, no, you're okay. So horror comedy, sure, but not movie. And you're like, oh no, movie also, and I was like, okay, see now I think that's crazy.
Well, you know what Evil Dead 2 has that Shaun of the Dead doesn't? Spoiler alert, guys. I don't think we said that yet. Spoiler alert for this entire movie. Evil Dead 2 has Bruce Campbell at the end of the movie getting sucked into a fucking vortex and landing in 1300 AD and shooting a pterodactyl deadite with a double-barrel shotgun. So, does Shaun of the Dead have that? I think not. That's all I'm going to say. But we could get into the discussion. We'll discuss a little bit more. Let's get into the trivia a little bit. And one of the first pieces of trivia that I think is really interesting about this movie is that it originally was going to be the plot of Army of Darkness. The original idea for a sequel to Evil Dead was going to be sending Bruce Campbell back to medieval times, and a lot of the beats that we will end up getting in Army of Darkness were going to be the story beats for this one. But when they were able to get in contact with a producer who was willing to fund the second film, they had kind of convinced them, and it was a classic case of, oh, hey, the studio will fund this, but we want it to be more in line with the first movie. Hit a lot of the similar beats, which reminds me a lot of, I remember years back hearing that there was supposed to be a sequel to Chronicle. It was supposed to be called Martyrs, and you can find the script online, written by Max Landis, who turned out, he was a piece of shit, so that sucks, but I still like Chronicle a lot. And apparently the script not even apparently, I've read it online, the script to Chronicle was very different than the first film, and he brought it to Fox Studios, and they said, nope, we kind of want you to do Chronicle again, but just with different characters. And it seems like a very similar kind of historical moment with Evil Dead, where they were like, well, we liked Evil Dead, and we know you want to do this crazy medieval fantasy horror film, but we're going to need you to do basically the first Evil Dead again, but just kind of slightly different, which I'm not going to hold against Sam Raimi too much, but it is a slight issue with the film that it does hit a lot of similar beats to that first movie, which we can discuss and everything, but not sure what other trivia or behind the scenes facts you had kind of looked up for this one.
Well, I saw that Stephen King, like, obviously continued to advocate, and I read that this film wouldn't have really been possible if it wasn't for him to like get filming, and I'm trying to like refresh my memory. I don't know if it was just he helped with like marketing it for them. So I think that helped get them like a lot. I forget who it was, but that's what helped.
It was it was the producer who Dino De Laurentiis, I think his name was. He was the one who was like, hey, we want you to do Evil Dead 2, very similar to the first one, hit a lot of those similar beats. And I believe it was Stephen King, like you said, who he had a dinner with Dino De Laurentiis and sat down and was like, listen, Evil Dead, you need to fund this sequel. This, like, the people need it, the people want it. Help give it to them. So yeah, I mean, say what you want about Stephen King, his writing or his personal life, but the dude got us Evil Dead 1 and 2. So
yeah. Apparently Ted Raimi needed a respirator for his outfit.
I didn't read that.
I think it was like so bulky and like.
Does he play Henrietta later in the movie? Is that him?
Yeah.
Dude,
so Ted Raimi is Henrietta. It's disgusting.
Oh, jeez.
It's gross. But let me see.
So one thing that I thought was interesting too was that, and I think it's kind of noticeable in the movie. If you watch this, especially in close succession to the first film, you'll notice that the cabin and the woods looks very different to the cabin that they used in the first film. And that's because in the first one, I believe they shot it, I want to say it was Tennessee, and they just found like an abandoned cabin in the woods in Tennessee. Whereas this one, they built the whole cabin and the wood set inside a local gymnasium. And originally that producer, Dino De Laurentiis, he had said like, oh, hey, like you can use my studio close to me. But then Sam Raimi opted to shoot in one that was like 3 hours away from where he was, solely because he felt like if the production was too close to where Dino De Laurentiis was, that there'd be a lot of like studio interference on it, and he really wanted to create or keep a lot of that creative control. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah. So also, how did it work with not having the rights to their own film? Like I didn't really read too much into that. I don't know how that even happens.
Yeah, so if you listen to Bruce Campbell talk about it in like interviews, what he says is, oh, we didn't have the rights to our own film, so they couldn't, I guess, reuse footage from that first movie. So what you get in the first, I marked it down because I wasn't sure if it was going to be a criticism of yours or not, but the opening, it's sort of a recap of the first movie with the big differences, the main two being instead of Ash, his girlfriend, his sister, and then their two friends, Scotty and Shelly, instead of them, it is just Josh. It is just Ash and his girlfriend, Linda, who go up to the cabin, and it's a different actress who plays Linda this time. And then they sort of just recreate beats from that first movie in that opening 7 to 8 minutes. But I don't know, because everywhere you look, it's like, all right, well, if you didn't have the rights, then how did you make a sequel that had the same name? Usually that's part of the rights issue. It's Evil Dead. It's in the name. It's not Army of Darkness. That's like a whole different name.
Yeah, like
it's
if it was titled
so.
Dead by Dawn only, then I would get it. But it's
it's very confusing. I don't know. Here's my thing. I don't think you need it, because I think if you make a sequel to a movie, I think you should make the sequel with the anticipation that people watching it have seen the first film. Not a lot of people go into a franchise in a later entry without having seen the earlier ones. So I don't even think you need the recap. I think if you start the movie with that shot going through the house and hitting Ash, like the spirit hitting Ash, you could just pick it up from there. I don't think you need all the recap of the first movie. Like, I don't think it's necessary. Thankfully, though, it is a short movie, and it only takes up, like I said, like 7 or 8 minutes of runtime.
Yeah.
So it's not crazy.
How do you even have rights to the characters' names then? I don't get it. I mean, you would think you could use anything from the first one then, but
that's usually how it works. I don't know. I'm not an entertainment lawyer, so I don't know the specifics of it. I don't know. There's also just conflicting stories too. Like the cabin from the first movie, it burnt down, and Raimi has joked that he's the one who burned it down because he thought the house was actually haunted. Apparently, other people said it was just like kids who had was setting fires in the woods and ultimately ended up setting fire to the cabin. I don't know. So there's a lot of conflicting reports. I don't know who's being honest, who's not. But yeah, I don't know. Doesn't make any fucking sense. But
well,
yeah.
I mean, I don't have too many more There's like a bunch of little things, but none of that really seem to.
We can let me look if there's any Any other ones? So the last big one that I wanted to mention is towards the end of the film. There is a large demonic head that Ash ends up fighting in the climax, and the crew had nicknamed it Rotten Applehead. And apparently, it was too large and cumbersome for the crew to take when they were done. And after, I guess, filming had wrapped up, I think they just left it there, and they didn't know what happened to it for years. And then a couple of years later, I guess a local haunted house, someone had spotted that big prosthetic in the haunted house. So I thought that was like a fun little kind of trivia fact to
Wow.
bring up. Oh, also apparently the scene where Ash fights his own hand in the kitchen, I guess that whole scene was improvised, and Raimi loved it so much that they did it in one take. So
Really?
I thought, yeah, which that's one of my favorite and like funniest sequences in the entire film, if you ask me. Like
Oh
him,
yeah.
because it's so, again, this is what I talk about with Bruce Campbell's performance in this movie. It feels so realistic. Like it really is just him throwing him around, like throwing himself around the room and smashing stuff into himself. But surface level, it really feels like he's fighting his own possessed hand, and I don't, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I guess
fucking dig it.
Raimi is he's like a huge Three Stooges fan, so that's where a lot of this like influence comes from.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think he said that his goal was, I don't know if he said this or what, but I think it was like entertainment first for Evil Dead 2, comedy second, and then horror third. And you get a lot of that throughout this movie. But
Yeah. So let's break into that
yeah.
because I feel like that's where me and you I think disagree with the most on this movie is just the tone and what it's going for in comparison to that first movie. Because
Yeah.
I think we're
And I
both
really
very
think
yeah.
I think Jake and I almost agree. I just think the level is just different. I think what I might grade this movie the same on like the same merits, but the intensity is just not as high as Jake. So
That's
we'll
fair. That's
we'll
a
get
fair
into
assessment.
it. We'll get into
Yeah,
it.
so
'Cause I think there's a
let's
lot
break
of like
into
really
that.
great stuff about this movie.
Yeah.
So
To me, so I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm not going to give a spoiler to my rating, but I think I've already said I like this the most out of all of the Evil Dead movies. This is one of my favorite movies, period. This is not just one of my favorite horror movies. This is one of my favorite movies, period. I firmly moved that bad boy up in my top 20 after finishing my rewatch the other day. I love this movie for a lot of different reasons, and a lot of that goes into taking everything I loved about the first film in terms of filmmaking. And while there is something to be said about the scrappiness of that first film because of the much, much smaller budget and the creativity in the filmmaking being way better than the budget has any right to showcase, but in this film, everything from the sound effects to the music that is chosen to the shot selection to the camera work and the framing choices, to me, it's just all elevated in this film. I think it's just everything I like in terms of the cinematography and the direction and the blocking in that first movie, I think is even better. I think the performance from Bruce Campbell in that first movie, I think it's good. I think it's serviceable, but I think in this film, he just chews the scenery at every given opportunity. And it reminds me a lot of, we had talked about the Raimi trilogy recently, the Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire, and how Willem Dafoe in that first Spider-Man film is just every opportunity he gets, he is just chewing it up. And I think you could make the argument, yeah, it's a little over the top, it's a little cheesy, it's a little campy. To me, that works, especially in that film, and especially coming from a place of having seen the Evil Dead movies like we have. I think you feel so much of that influence and style in those Spider-Man films, and it's all rooted in this Evil Dead trilogy right here, and specifically starting in Evil Dead 2, because it is just with the chaos. It just goes for it. I don't think it pulls any punches. And while I think, yes, you could make the argument the first one is just a better straight up horror film, I do very much take into account what the films are going for. And because this leans so heavily into the chaos, into the comedy elements, into that slapstick Three Stooges esque style of comedy, I think it knows exactly what it is. And it is just all around extremely well made. So I personally don't criticize it for going more down the route of comedy and really just getting ridiculous at points, like fully fucking insane shit happening at like multiple moments in this movie is where I kind of stand with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think just shifting the tone to the comedy route, I have no problem with. I really don't. And I know I've said to Jake that I appreciate the first one more for its horror elements, but I might have changed my opinion a little bit after this rewatch, because I think what I like about these two films is that it's almost the same film, which I do think kind of lends a little bit to a couple things you could say about this film, is that it does follow similar patterns and beats as the first one. Do I think that they could have, and they come up with a lot of their own, like obviously there's different gags and stuff like that in this one, but I don't think they needed to bring in some of those similar scenes from the first one, but whatever. I think I like that you can put on either of these films and almost get the same thing in terms of like what's happening, but the style is just completely different. So if you're in a like one of the two different moods, you could just switch between these two films. And I like that you just have that option, because I love them both for what they're doing, because I love horror comedy. I love comedy like in general. So I like that you get all the same characters. You kind of even get what's happening. Like you get a group that comes in halfway through, which doesn't really work for me as much as like an established group that's there with you the whole time. Jake and I were kind of talking about that earlier. What I like about the group in the first one, even though maybe they're not as good at acting, but I like that there are emotional stakes to them, where you don't get any of that in this group. They're kind of there. They're there solely for, like, the girl is the daughter of the guy that owned that cabin. I forget his name. Is it Ray?
Did they say his name?
I thought they did.
Well, if so, I've never caught his name. She just always refers to him as my father. Her I don't know if it's her boyfriend or fiance or husband. The other guy who shows up with her, he even says like your father. I didn't know he had a name, but
yeah,
I definitely remember the mom's name. That's for damn fucking sure. Because
I think it's
Henrietta. Henrietta is one scary looking chick, which leads to one of my favorite one-liners in this movie, and it's when they realize that they have to go down into the cellar, because at one point the one character, Jake, who is the director of Intruder, fun fact, which is a really fun little slasher horror film, which also has Ted Raimi in it, so a lot of inner workings there. But yeah, I love the scene when he freaks out. The guy Jake freaks out. He has the gun at this point, so he's in charge of the situation, and he throws the papers from the Book of the Dead that they need to conjure up this spell to bring the evil into human form and then also send it back through time or whatever. Again, this movie gets very, very fucking off the rails crazy in the last like 20 or so minutes, but he throws the papers down that they need, and then later on they're like, oh, we got to go get these papers, and they realize this, and it just kind of cues in on Bruce Campbell, and he has this line, and he's like, well, then let's go down in that cellar and carve ourselves up a witch. And it's just so, and that's something. So I don't necessarily agree, and again, this is where not just like stylistically and tonally do we disagree on this movie, and I don't want to make it sound like you hate this movie, but performance aside, I actually really do like the dynamic that the newer characters bring into this film. I don't think they're just fodder to be turned into Deadites. And yeah, you don't get a lot of, I guess, character development, but I'm also not going to say that in the first Evil Dead you get a lot of development either. Sure, it's more of like an established friend group, but I don't feel like you're given enough in that first one, whereas the focus of this movie is Ash for a good chunk of it. And yeah, you do kind of bounce back and forth between Ash and kind of introducing the daughter of the cabin owner and the other guy, and then they bump into Jake and Bobby Joe. And comedy, like, invested into this movie, like we've talked about. I like Jake and Bobby Joe for comedy. Like, it's pretty fucking hilarious, but it's also kind of sad when Bobby Joe at one point runs off into the woods and Jake just goes out there, and the way he screams, Bobby Joe, Bobby Joe, and he's just like letting out this like feral call out for her. And I like those elements. I like that that part of this movie. And also, I think it's just interesting. I think it's an interesting dynamic because when they first arrive, it's right after that scene that we highlighted earlier where Ash is fully just losing his mind and he starts shooting the wall. And I think this is already after he's cut off his own hand, which is just a fucking beautifully disgusting scene. And you get that like close up zoom in as he's cutting off his hand and the blood is just spewing all over his face, and it's just glorious. It's absolutely glorious. It's for every fan of gore, it's a must. It's so good. But I like the added dynamic because look at it from their perspective now. Like look at it from both perspectives. Like you have Bruce Campbell's perspective, Ash's perspective. He's been losing his fucking mind. In the events of this film, his girlfriend has gotten possessed by this ancient spirit, this deity, and then has gone crazy. And while I do agree, I think that the makeup in the first film looks better. One thing that I really like about the Deadites in this one, specifically his girlfriend Linda, is her teeth. Her teeth are like razor sharp, and she's got like these dentures put in that make her teeth look like they're fucking knives at certain points. And I love that aspect. And the decapitation looks better in this one, I think, than the first. But either way, like I love he's gone insane, and then he hears this noise outside and he fires. Now from opposite ends of the spectrum, he's gone insane. He doesn't know what to think of things, and he fires at them without knowing. And now these people have arrived to her father's cabin. She expects to see her father and mother there just studying this book. And she gets there, and before they even open the fucking door, some crazy man with a shotgun and a sawed-off arm or a sawed-off hand is firing a shotgun at them. And when she comes in, all she sees is a guy with a chainsaw and blood and guts everywhere. So her immediate reaction is, oh my God, this guy carved up my fucking parents. And I just think that's a lot more of an interesting dynamic to set up with these characters and the conflict that they'll have to deal with for the rest of the movie than in the first one, which even though it might have set some trends, there were movies before The Evil Dead that are about a group of friends and this kind of group survival issue. So yeah, I think the second one's a little more original.
I guess it's just preference then. The character I'm following is Ash. So where I guess you have a point that it's interesting on what's the girl's name? The daughter?
Annie.
Was it Annie? When Annie comes back, yeah, like it's probably traumatizing for her, and you do get this like interesting dynamic that where she like Ash is kind of portrayed as like the villain to her. But I'm there for Ash, whereas so like in the first one when you see his girlfriend, his sister, his friends kind of like getting picked off one by one, I like that there is that stake that you're getting. It makes me it kind of brings another layer to it that I don't feel like I get with these characters in the second one. But it's a small thing because I think there's things in the second one that they do, I mean objectively just do better than the first one, and that is because of budget. It is more experience now under his belt. Like he's getting better as he's making these. I wanted to talk about I think my favorite shot in the movie is that claustrophobic maze chase when it is following him into the cabin. That cabin looks massive with how there's like just like all these like tight hallways that it's just like going through, and it's so frantic, and oh my God, I love it. I feel so like I just feel like I can't breathe, and I don't even know how they built that. You said right, like that was their they built that set. So yeah, I just like that they just interwove like all these different like hallways that he's going through, and it's just chasing him through them. So that was a lot of fun to watch. That's probably my favorite shot in the movie.
Well, even before that, like the preceding scene, which is like the start of that chase scene, I think it picks up when he drives, which is another kind of like plot hole because he does in the first movie go with Cheryl and sees that the bridge is destroyed. You get a similar scene in this one, but it's just him by himself, and he drives back to the bridge and sees that it's destroyed. However, I think I maybe justified it to myself a little bit more this time, and when I watch it now, I think more so I'm in the thinking of, oh, he's just gone insane. He probably just forgot. He has one goal in mind because, and we didn't really bring it up, but it does essentially, after a couple of minutes of doing that recap, it picks up right where that first movie left off. Ash is hit by that evil spirit. It sends him flying into a tree. He goes face first into this puddle, and then when he emerges, he has been overtaken by a deadite, and he's got the deadite face, to which I absolutely love the special effects makeup on Ash during that scene. It just looks so fucking good. His eyes are like that glassy white like you got in that first movie. Deadite Ash just looks awesome to me. And then he sees the sunlight, the sun is coming out, and he kind of reverts back, and then he passes out. And I love too, in terms of shots, just that like tilted angle, like it moves with Ash as he passes out. And another great shot following that, when he wakes up, it does like a pan up, straight up shot panning away from him, but does like a 360 motion as he wakes up, which just, yeah, you can make the argument, oh, it's an unmotivated camera movement, but to me it just captures like the insanity of what he just experienced. So when he gets to the bridge, my thought is, oh, his whole mindset is just get the fuck out of here. I need to get out of here before the sun goes down again. So in my mind, he just forgets that the bridge is destroyed. Sure, you could say I'm making a justification just to make the movie look better.
Well, you lean pretty heavily into this is strictly a sequel, but like Bruce Campbell has said like it's a requel, like there, which I don't really, fine. I don't get.
That's fine.
I don't really get like why they didn't just go full on sequel.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know either.
This small thing that really bothered me, it didn't actually really bother me, but it just like it threw me off. When he goes to the bridge, it's still like light out, and I think when he drives away, like in that chase, it's nighttime.
I think he was passed out for a long time. Like I think he passed out in the water for
well,
like
no, he's
hours.
Passed out, but it's still light out when he wakes up.
Well, yeah, he gets up and then he gets in the car and he goes to the bridge. I think like it's the sun is setting as he like gets to the bridge. That's why he freaks out, because he realizes he's low on time. But either way, getting back to the original point was, before you get that chase throughout the cabin that you love, that very claustrophobic one, you get like a really good chase sequence with the car. Like he is at one point at the beginning of that scene, he is driving the car backwards, just reversing it at like a very fast speed. It doesn't look like it's sped up at all. And you see like the car is just like kind of like weaving back and forth as he fucking just books it backwards.
Yeah.
And knowing that these were like, even with a couple $1 million more than the first movie, still very like low budget, low crew kind of movies, just the stunt driver, or it probably was just Bruce Campbell. I have to assume it was probably just Bruce like doing the shot where he like just goes backwards, and it was just him in the car. But the chase sequence as a whole looks, it has, again, even for a movie with like significantly more money, it has no right to look as good as it does.
Yeah, can you explain to me, do they see anything? I have no idea if they see anything.
I don't think they see it. I think they sense it. It's just like that, like almost like a Spider-Man tingle, like the Spidey sense. Like they feel when that energy is coming towards them, which just I think lends itself more to later on in the film when they have to read the spell from the Book of the Dead, that it says like the first half of the spell is supposed to bring the evil into the human world, and then the second part of that spell sends it back in time, or gets rid of it, dispels it, or whatever. But yeah, so I think that's what that spell is doing. It's materializing that evil spirit. And yeah, let's just say the a lot of the special effects and the shots in this movie look fucking fantastic. The special effects, the makeup, all of that stuff, the blood and gore looks fucking amazing. But sometimes when they do like the cheesy overlay where it's like it looks like something like they took just like a shot of something, like the face, when they do the face and he looks at the cabin and you see the face of the demon or whatever, that looks a little cartoonish at times. Again, trying to understand the context of what they had to work with resource and budget wise, but I think I would have preferred them to just not have done it. And one thing that I don't like in this one or the first one is the voiceover of the join us. It just, I like when the Deadites say it because it's fun when it's like the shit talking Deadites, but I don't like hearing this evil spirit talk. I think it minimizes the scariness just a little bit too much for me. But yeah, I don't know.
So you like the is the funniest part for you the hand when he's fighting with his hand?
I think I mean, that's probably the funniest scene when he is just fighting his hand in the kitchen and just, again, he smashes like 5 fucking plates over his head, and it's so funny.
I love.
Oh, you know what's an underrated funny moment? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
The underrated funny moment, and it's one that I never honed in on until I had to like take notes to talk about it for this podcast. When the decapitated Linda body, the stop motion, when it starts.
Wait, I don't know.
When it starts dancing, when it starts dancing, it cuts back every so often, like every couple seconds in between her dancing. It cuts to Bruce Campbell, and his facial expressions and his reaction to what he's witnessing is so goddamn good. It is just straight up comedy gold at the end of a fucking comedy rainbow, baby. It is just such good physical acting. I love it. But what were you gonna say?
When Linda, honestly, I think it might be funnier than the hand. When she bites his hand, and he is just doing all he can to just whack her head against every single thing in the room. That was cracking me up, like even more than the hand. I don't know what it is about his. He's so aggressive with it, and he just like whacks her into like the shelves.
Of course, in this film, we already had mentioned, you get a lot of blood and gore. One of my favorite sequences in the film, and we talked about it a little bit before the podcast. You don't think it's scary. I think it's scary. At one point, Henrietta pulls Jake, the hillbilly-esque guy, pulls him head first into the cellar and starts biting his fucking head. And then from underneath the cellar, you just get like the biggest blast of blood pouring out of the cellar, exploding. If you think that Ash got doused in fake blood in that first movie, this one amps it up about 100 times. Like the parts where he starts shooting, his little hand skimpers away and it goes in the wall, and he starts just shooting at the wall, and blood. First off, it's regular blood just starts spewing out of it, blasting him in the face, and it looks like it hurts. Like it is coming at him at a very high velocity, and it starts out just like normal blood red, and then it switches to like this black oil-looking liquid and just dousing him in that. By the end of it, he's covered in just blood and black goo. It's just so disgusting.
That also happens when he's. I love when he puts Linda in the vice and he like. Well, first off, I like when he goes through the chainsaw and it's like the chalk,
outline,
like outline. Yeah. But he gets like that black, nasty oil shit on his face when he like you get that nice like cool shadow of him like drilling the chainsaw into her head. But,
well, that's a great little shot and edit too. When he goes to look for the chainsaw, and you, like you said, you get that chalk outline, and then it's an immediate cut, like it's like a wider sort of medium shot, I think, of Bruce, and he's towards like the left side of the screen, and the door to the shed is kind of in the middle of the shot, and immediately it's so well cut and edited. And that's one thing that I think this movie improves upon over the first two, is I think there's a lot less choppy editing in the second one. And so not only is like the direction and the cinematography cleaner, but I think the edits are a little bit sharper and a little bit smoother. But immediately it cuts to that shot, and in almost half a millisecond, the headless body of Linda bursts through the fucking door wielding the chainsaw and like trying to like carve him up, which is just fucking amazing. But I love his hero moment. I love his hero moment when he makes his little contraption, and you get all of those little almost Edgar Wright-esque insert shots of him putting together he grabs like the shotgun shells, and he grabs the shotgun, and he grabs the chainsaw, and he's like making all these different rigs and whatnot. And then you get that final that hero shot of him with the chainsaw attached to his now decapitated handless arm, and puts the chainsaw on, saws off the end of the shotgun, so now you get like a sawed off shotgun in the other hand, and then you cue in on him, and you just get the best line delivery of all time. Groovy. It's so fucking good. It is so good. No notes. Sam, you are the man. You are the man.
Jake likes that line a lot more than I do. I like it.
Dude, how can you not?
I like it.
How can you?
I like it, but it's...
Oh, he likes it. Groovy. Yeah.
You know what? I like a line in the next film a little bit more than that one, but I'll wait.
Dude, there's so many one-liners
I'll
in
wait to say
Army of
that.
Darkness. Yeah, we'll save that for the next
I
episode.
love
But
the little farewell to arms when
that is
she's
so funny.
like that's
I
that's
forgot
that's good
about
stuff.
that.
There's just a lot of like just fun stuff. Like he's just like I love that you can feel that they're just having a great time and they're doing a good job doing it.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of editing, just like it was a very simple transition, but I really liked it. Um, After he decapitates Linda's head, he rolls it to the camera, and it like goes to the lens, and then it transitions to him like digging a grave. So it like just goes from like the shovel, like a close up of the shovel on the ground to like digging. I just thought that looked really nice, just like a
Is it
simple
this
little
one?
transition.
Is no, it's Army of Darkness. I'm thinking of when he does the hey, what's that on your face? And shovels the dirt in.
Oh yeah,
I think that's
yeah,
Army of
yeah.
Darkness.
It is. It is.
Getting them a little mixed up, but yeah, I think this is to me easily the funniest of the three movies, through the physical comedy, the little kind of references, like you said, not to other movies, but the book with the Farewell to Arms is absolutely hilarious. Again, just the little character moments, like him screaming for Bobby Joe, is so funny. There's just so many little moments that I absolutely adore in this movie. And on top of just, in my opinion, you had mentioned it feeling like you can just tell that they were having fun with this movie. And like, I fully agree with that. But every time I watch this movie, it just feels like, and with a lot of Sam Raimi movies, but specifically this Evil Dead trilogy, it just seems like every scene or sequence, what's constantly going through his mind is just, how can we present this in the most creative, unique way possible? Let's just not showcase this scene in the way that people have seen been done for, decades upon decades. Let's shoot this, let's direct this in a way that feels different. And that is why I think it's just this and the first one and Army of Darkness, just very inspiring set of movies, because it shows what you can really accomplish with a very minimal budget if you have the passion, if you have the creativity, and if you have just the willingness to bet on yourself. Like we talked about in the first movie, just them going around begging people for money to just not to say you should go around to your family members begging for them to fund your projects, but the point is, he had the grind. Him and Bruce Campbell, they had the grind in them. They had the dog in them to go out and just put themselves out there and just make shit. Not worry about everything else, but just go out and make something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I forgot to talk about the other two like popular camera shots that he does. So we talked about the shake cam, obviously, when he bolts it to the 2x4. There's two others called the, well, we did talk about it, but I didn't say the title of it. The Ramo cam, I guess, is when he like rigged up to like bust down the windows and doors, and the Vaso cam. I guess they like would put gaffer tape on the wood and then Vaseline to get like a fluid like dolly shot or just gliding shot. So really DIY dollies and just all these like just rigs that were just making out of Vaseline. That's just very creative. And I was watching an interview with Raimi, and he was saying how, I think the guy asked him, do you think having the bigger budgets, even for you, kind of, you lose that common sense and creativity? And he said absolutely. Like, making these movies, it obviously just forces you to be creative, use your intellect to, rather than, okay, how do we make this person float? You can't just pay for this rig to like do it. So all right, what do we need? We need this. Oh, we don't even have money for that. How can we do it? So he said, you're just constantly finding ways to achieve something in any way possible. Whereas like now it's like you have the money to just say, oh, well, how do we build this to do this? So
Yeah. No, it's
which I don't
exactly
think Raimi really lost his creativity. I just think he doesn't need to utilize it as much, because you have those funds.
No.
So that's what I really pick up on with these movies.
It's really frustrating too, because I think, again, this I don't mean this to sound pretentious, but I think so many people have gotten accustomed to watching modern day films, and if you're not someone who ventures outside of the mainstream films, if you're not venturing outside of those kind of tentpole studio films, and you're kind of just relying on whatever commercials you see to tell you is the movie of the summer, if you don't really explore foreign cinema or you don't explore indie cinema, you have, like I saw recently, a guy commented and said that Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which is also directed by Sam Raimi, it's the only MCU film that he's done. And the comment was the guy saying that he felt like Sam Raimi's way of directing movies is outdated, and the way that he directs films is just not suited for modern audiences. And I think it's because so many of those studio mainstream films, your Blumhouse movies, stuff from Fox or Sony, you just watch those and the visual style is just so bland and lifeless, and you feel like you're watching a movie, and yeah, you might look up the director and you might be like, oh, I've seen this other film, but you don't really get that like style and personality from the visuals, from the filmmaking. And I think Sam Raimi is an excellent example of a director whose films that you can show to somebody who maybe doesn't have a degree in film like we do, which is a useless fucking degree, and I will talk anybody out of going to film school if I have the opportunity to, because it is a waste of money. Just go to films, watch YouTube videos dissecting things, make films. If that's your passion, do not go into thousands of dollars of debt to support it. And if you are going to go into thousands of dollars of debt, then do it to create something. Do it like Sam Raimi did, to create a film. But you just get so, I don't even want to say spoiled, because it's like the inverse of spoiled, but with so many modern day mainstream films, and just mainstream films throughout the history of cinema, a lot of them are just kind of cookie cutter in terms of their visual presence and style in the filmmaking. And again, Sam Raimi is just one that I think you could show a lot of his films to people who aren't as into the filmmaking side of things, and even they, from a surface level viewpoint, can look at it and be like impressed by the shots and the camera movements and the framing choices and just how thought out things are. Like, like we already mentioned that the scene with Bruce Campbell where he's fighting his hand in the kitchen, improvised. But it's Sam Raimi having the faith in Bruce Campbell as an actor to pull off a performance like that and saying, hey, yeah, that wasn't in the intentional script or the original version of this script, and we didn't plan that, but it works for what we're going for. And just having that ability and having that confidence to take risks, and like you had said, being resourceful, being creative when it comes to setting things up and kind of just, making the film in a way that you want to. I don't know. I'm rambling at this point, but the point is there, guys. I love this movie. I love Evil Dead 2 more than I love most things, and I feel like we didn't do justice to how good this movie is, but
I think we did enough justice.
I think we did enough.
enough.
But yeah, I'm kind of tapped out of my notes. Let me just kind of take
I'm surprised you don't have like 5 more paragraphs.
Oh, if we weren't worried about making these episodes a little bit shorter, I would continue to go on. But one thing that I thought was interesting was at the beginning of the film, it says the studio is Rosebud Studio. And that is not a real studio. It is a fake studio, a fake production company, because producer Dino De Laurentiis, who we had mentioned a little bit earlier, he was forbidden by his company to release an unrated movie. And Raimi originally wanted this and the first Evil Dead to get a PG-13 rating, and instead initially received the very, very dreaded NC-17 rating. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Isn't that why they used like green blood and like blue blood also, to try to get a lower rating?
Oh, maybe. I had read that they added a little bit of blue dye in that first movie just to darken up the blood, but that seems a little absurd because there's so much blood in this movie. There's so much blood. There's so much, but yeah, I mean, I'm kind of tapped out with my notes and my thoughts. Do you? We didn't get to do this with the first one, but before we head on out, do you? And obviously give our ratings and everything. But do you have a favorite scene in this movie? Like your number one favorite scene? It could be under the radar. It can be a classic or iconic scene. But I'd love to know what your favorite scene is.
I didn't write one down. I like the first half of this more than the second one. And that's not me saying I don't like the second half. I just think I kind of get more out of the first half. I kind of like the one-man show. I don't really necessarily expect them to do that the entire time, but
Yeah.
my favorite scene, I really don't know. I do like that skeleton stop motion dance a lot, but I think when he, no, it's not the hand, but that is up there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I like when he's. I'm trying to think of everything that happens because I said the funniest part to me was when he gets bit by Linda and he's like whacking her all kinds of around the place. Is that when the laughing starts too? Because I love that part. Like I love the laughing from the lamp and the deer.
That's my favorite scene. When
is that
all
like
the other
same scene when he's like.
I think it's around the same point in
Yeah.
that movie. Yeah, it's around a similar.
That's what I mostly remembered from the movie. It was like the laughing and then his laugh to the camera. So I think
Yeah.
one of those when he first gets bit by Linda and he's like just wrestling with her head and then buries it and then I kind of like look at it as all like the same scene. And then she like it's like the skeleton dance. I think that's very creative. I like this. I like stop motion a lot. So
No, I love the stop motion too. It looks really good again for the budget and the resources that they had. The stop motion stuff looks awesome. Yeah, you could say that maybe the scene with her dancing in the woods is a little bit too goofy, but it works for me personally. I enjoy it because to me, again, it's what they're going for. They're going for a kind of a campier tone than that first one. But yeah, like I said, my favorite scene is easily just because I'm with the chaos, and I think that's gonna make or break people's experiences with Evil Dead 2. Is if you go into it, and I think if you're expecting a successor or a direct follow-up to the first Evil Dead in terms of tone and that sort of atmosphere, I think you're going to be let down. But I think if you go into the second film knowing that they're going for a much more comedic tone and they're trying to sort of blend that horror and comedy a lot more than that first one, which is more kind of straight up horror, even if there are those moments of comedy kind of sprinkled throughout. But yeah, you're either with the chaos or you're not. And I am with the chaos 150%. So should we get into ratings or?
let's do it.
All right. You, I believe, gave us the rating in the last episode, so I'll kick us off for this one. A score that I know is way too high for Josh. I'm going to give Evil Dead 2 a 9.5 out of 10. Roll your eyes all you want, buddy. Roll your eyes all you want. It is, to me, it is the greatest horror comedy of all time. So I don't think there's a movie that matches the horror. I didn't really talk about it too much, but I think that scene when Henrietta bursts out of the whatever, the closet or whatever in the cellar, I think that scene is absolutely terrifying as she gets closer and closer towards him. They're trying to like rush to unlock the cellar door. It's a great horror scene in my opinion, and I dig it a lot. So 9.5 out of 10. Suck it, Josh. All right, let's hear it. Let's hear it. Give us your score.
We'll say it to Jake. I mean, I don't think there's that much competition in the horror comedy realm, but whatever. It's not like saying greatest horror movie, where there's competition everywhere. So greatest horror comedy, I mean, it's like there's some really great ones, but then it's like they kind of all blend together for me. So
Return of the Living Dead is pretty great.
I think it's really good.
Nah, it's great.
Jake thinks everything's great, apparently.
Josh likes to be a hard ass. That's
You know what? I do like to try to balance a little bit more of my ratings on what I like, but not too much. Just a little bit. So I'm going to land Evil Dead 2. I might change this tomorrow or next week. 8.2.
Oh, let's go. So it's your favorite. Let's go.
Probably. Now, like I said earlier in the episode, I do like that these two films give you completely different tastes. So if tomorrow I want a horror movie, I'm obviously going to put in Evil Dead 1. There's things I like about Evil Dead 1 more than 2, and I can't deny some of the better things about 2 than 1. I think production alone is there. Even though I like the effects in 1 a little bit more, I just think the overall creativity is kind of there. Actually, no, they're both kind of there. I don't know. They're so on par for me. I almost went just an 8 out of 10 for both of them because I'm so torn. But 8.2 just because I do have a better time with it, and I think what I like about it is that you get that very iconic Ash that everyone loves. That's where he's like built into like he goes from kind of like getting that confidence to the heroic Ash, and his performance is just kind of like unmatched from this one to the first one, I think. So 8.2 I'm landing on.
Fine with that. Fine with that. I like that you gave it a higher score than The Evil Dead. I'm glad that you're finally coming around. You're joining the hype train.
It's been a long time since I've seen 2, like 10 years. I think everything's been 10 years for me, honestly.
I think 2 is slightly more rewatchable, but I actually fully agree with your sentiment. If I want more of a horror film, I will throw on The Evil Dead. If I want probably the better looking and the overall more fun movie, then I'm going to go with the second one. But I think a lot of why it's fun is not just the chaos, but like we kind of harped on, the production is just better. They have a little bit more money in their pockets. But there is something oddly charming about the scrappiness of that first movie. But all right, well, that is our ratings for Evil Dead 2. Obviously, next episode, you'll get it either on Saturday or Sunday. We will be talking about Army of Darkness. And before we plug our socials and where you can listen to and follow this podcast, Josh, I got a question for you. My favorite segment. My favorite segment. We're going to start the stopwatch in a moment. For those of you who are new to this podcast, at the end of the episode, I like to ask Josh a question that he does not know beforehand, and I give him 20 seconds to answer it because it's very, very, very fun to stress Josh out and bust his balls a little bit. Josh, in your opinion, who is the scariest horror movie character in cinema? Your time starts in 3, 2, 1, go. Tick, tock, tick, tock. You got 10 seconds left. Scariest horror movie character.
I'm gonna. I'll give
2
it
seconds.
to Reagan from The Exorcist.
Oh, I'm very surprised you didn't say Pazuzu, and you're just scared of little 11-year-old Reagan. A little weird, but you know what? That's Josh's answer. You heard him there, guys. Reagan from The Exorcist is the scariest.
You know what I almost gave? I was thinking about what has scared me the most as a little kid, and it's honestly, I think it's the old lady from The Shining. But
yeah, that still gets to me.
That didn't feel as memorable to me, so I gave a memorable one. Whatever.
The scariest thing in The Shining for me is the guy in the dog suit giving a blowy.
Yeah, I remember you said that. Never did anything to me. Just never. Did
Guys
anything.
in dog suits freaks me out a little bit. Unless you're a furry listening or watching this, then it's fine. I love
like
you.
Jake's is probably. I know he won't answer these questions on the podcast here, so I have to just ask him after we're done. I feel like
It's Michael Myers.
Oh, okay, I thought honestly Leatherface would be your scariest.
Nah, I'll beat Leatherface's ass.
Yeah, I almost said Michael Myers too, but I was like, no, I'm gonna.
Michael Myers still does it for me. All right, guys. Well, you can listen to this podcast on my personal YouTube channel, Former Film Student, where I post other TV and movie related content. That's where we upload these episodes on YouTube too, as well as being able to listen or watch us over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Make sure if you're on YouTube to subscribe to my channel, also leave a comment and like the video. And if you're over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can also leave comments there. Make sure to like and follow us. Give us a 5-star rating if you feel so inclined. Spotify and Apple Podcasts go crazy for that. And honestly, it would make my day. And that's really it for me.
All right, guys. So, just head over to Instagram. Give us a follow at Franchise Deep Dive. Look for future content and previous content if you want to see what episodes we have out in the past. Interact with us, DM us, comment, like, all that fun stuff. Give us any suggestions or any criticisms you have. We always want to try to get better for you guys, but always appreciate the support. And if you feel like emailing us instead, you can email us at franchisedeepdive@gmail.com. But that is all I have. And Jake, thank you for now putting me under pressure with these questions. They really stressed me out for 20 seconds.
I can tell. I love it. Fuels me. It's my lifeblood. I don't need energy drinks anymore. Just stressing you out. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you, of course, from the Franchise Deep Dive, guys. We will catch you on the next episode of Franchise Deep Dive, where we are closing out the Sam Raimi Evil Dead trilogy with Army of Darkness, perhaps the strangest one yet. All right, guys. We'll catch you on the next episode. Goodbye.
Later.